interesting member of this pantheon is Yahweh, because Yahweh and Elohim are not the same person. They are different gods. And so that's why whenever you're reading about the conquest, they're always talking to Yahweh, because Yahweh was a war god. Yahweh was like their version of Mars or Ares. And it's why he's so goddamn fascinated with blood. It's why every time you see them talking to Yahweh, it is Yahweh got mad because he instructed Saul to go to this town and kill, once again, leave nothing alive. And Saul does pretty much that, except he kept some animals alive for sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And Samuel comes up to Saul, is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, Saul got in trouble because he didn't kill enough. Like, he lost his job for it. And like, that is how, and so you had this
God is better than sacrifice.
So I asked a lot of these same questions, and when it came to the genocide question specifically, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there are several passages in the Old Testament in which after Moses leads the Hebrews out of Egypt, they wander for 40 years, and then they start the conquest of Canaan, which involves them conquering city after city after city until they control the whole land. And God would instruct the Israelites to, all right, go to war with this town. And he would tell them in explicit detail, kill all the soldiers, don't take any prisoners, go into the city, kill all the men, kill the women, kill the children, kill the old people, kill the fucking animals. I mean, it is horrifying. And this happens many times. And Heather mentioned one story in which it's actually Moses, not Joshua. Moses tells them, hey, the Lord has instructed me that we're going to war with the Amalekites, I think. I can't remember which one.
I think the Amalekites was the really bad one. Because it wasn't always. Sometimes they were supposed to spare the animals or spare the virgins. It wasn't always the same instructions. Again, good call explaining this. I forgot, like, not everybody's going to know what I'm...
Oh, that's all right. So with I think it's the Amalekites. I can't remember, but it's in the book of Numbers. And Moses tells them, hey, here are the instructions from God. Very clear. Go in there and wipe everybody out. Kill everyone except for the virgin girls. And then he says, them you can take for yourselves. Those were the exact words. And so I think I can't remember what percentage of them, however many thousands of virgin girls there were given to the Levites, which were like the priestly tribe, and they had to be the Levites. And then the rest of them were essentially sex slaves. I know what this means. You can say whatever you want, but first off, how do you know who's a virgin and who's not? You don't. And so what it really means is like the girls like 15 and under probably is what it means. It's like the young girls that are they're your property now. You just got to, and so they would dodge. They'll say, oh yeah, well, they just married them. Okay, so you're telling me that you're a 15-year-old girl in the Middle East, someone comes in, murders your entire family, and you think that it's a blessing that you get to marry this person after they've wiped out everything you've known and loved? They would try to dodge it around that way. And it's funny you mentioned the animals.
If someone raped you, his punishment was he had to marry you.
Yes, there's
more of a punishment for you, not for him.
Yeah, one of the laws this is why it's funny that they always refer to the Old Testament law as this unattainable moral standard. That's why we needed Jesus to come for the blood sacrifice, because we couldn't possibly live up to the morality of the Old Testament law. Let me tell you the Old Testament law. Like, one of them is what Heather mentioned, is that if a man raped a woman, first off, if she didn't cry out for help, it didn't count. It's like, oh, well, then how do we know you didn't really, you weren't asking for it? And so God apparently is unaware that, women don't always cry out whenever rape is out of fear. And then let's say that you did rape someone. The crime wasn't against her. The crime was against her father, because once again, women are things. Say what?
Or her husband.
Or husband, yeah. So if you rape someone, you had to pay a fine to her dad, or however many pieces of silver or gold or whatever, for punishment for the crime. If you didn't pay that fine, she
had lost all her value to him.
Exactly. So
you couldn't get anything from her.
You were forced to marry her because now she's a depreciating asset. Because and also, if you got married and you consummated the marriage that night and there's no blood, which like proof that she's a virgin, you can have her executed. You can have her executed because she didn't happen to bleed the first night. This is God's perfect law. Like, this is the law that's set into place that so morally high we couldn't live up to. It it is insanity. The what I write down here. Oh yeah, so back to Yahweh and the genocide and everything. A lot of things in the Old Testament start to make a lot more sense when you actually learn history. Like because reading the Old Testament, this shit makes no sense at all. Because I know you remember thinking about this with the Israelites. So you have capital G God who comes in and talks to Moses and Aaron and has them do all these miracles, conquers the gods of Egypt. He turned the entire sky black for I forget how many days, turned the mighty Nile River into blood. I mean, these wild, insane miracles to save your people. And then you leave, and within a matter of months, you're ditching him to worship the rain god. It's like, what? Why? Why would you do something like that? You have the Lord.
It was so frustrating. It's like, what are you thinking, Jewish people?
That never made any sense at all. And then you actually learn about the history that these people were polygamous. Like the entire society of the Near East was a polygamous society. It's why the Ten Commandments say, have no other gods before me, because they believed in other gods. Like all the patriarchs were like, so you had Abraham who made God was his Elohim, which we all use as a name for God. And really Elohim just means that is your chief God. Like you had El Elyon was part of the pantheon of gods back then. So was Baal. So was Asherah. So was like Moloch. Like people that we all are guys that we all saw as false gods. No, they were just other gods in the club along with and in